With deep pride and excitement, I present to you my sister, my friend, a priestess to the soul, Iyanla Vanzant.
President Hall and Governor, I've never sat next to a governor before. And so for the first time that I sit next to a governor, for it to be a man of color just thrills my soul. Somebody talk to me. Lieutenant Governor, his sister is my administrative assistant, to this incredible board member, the faculty. I have a love for faculty. To every one of you graduates, to my sorors, thank you on my yeah, there we go. I bring you greetings from the nation of Brooklyn, New York, where I have met so many of your relatives and friends. It is an honor. It is an honor, my honor, to be here. I was telling the governor earlier that this is the first time in the 37 years of my career that I've ever been asked to bring a commencement address for an institute where the predominant, that the graduates are people of color. Let me just put it that way. Where black folks ask me to come speak. So I am honored. I want to ask all the men in this graduating class to please stand up. Yes. Come on, give them some love. Thank you. I really just wanted to see your faces, because your faces are not the faces that they put on the news at night. Your faces are not the faces that they hold up in front of us. I bless you. And I want to remind you, when it gets hard and when it gets difficult, remember this day and that love that came towards you. Please, I lift you. I just want you to rise and keep on rising. So, I have known President Hall. I knew him when he had hair. He had hair, I didn't have none. Now he don't have none, I bought me some. Things change. You gotta go with the flow, you gotta let things change, you know? It's so wonderful. So when I was praying for you this morning and I asked God, what is it that I needed to say? I know I've never done a commencement speech before like this, and so I'm just going to be who I am. I don't know how else to be. So I prayed and I asked God what it is that I need to say to you, what it is that I could offer you to support you in taking the next most appropriate steps in your life. Because I know you know that it doesn't end here. I know you know that this is just the beginning. And I know, well, maybe you don't know, but what I want you to understand is that 5, 6 years from now, once you're in your career and once you're in your chosen field of endeavor, whatever it is, nobody's going to ask you about your college degree. I got college degrees, I don't even know where they're at. Nobody's going to ask you, but what they will look at is how you carry everything that you got here. How you stand in what this faculty has given you. How you demonstrate yourself through what you have learned. That is what they're going to ask you. So I want to bring you this address today, not as a New York Times best-selling author of books. I want to bring you this address today not as a host of a television show or someone that has traveled the world. I want to bring you these words today, not as someone that's different than you, but someone that has stood where you stood, sat where you sat, been where you've been, and hopefully will call you forward. I want to bring you these words today as a teenage mother on welfare in the projects in Brooklyn. I want to bring you these words today as a woman who's loved the wrong man over and over and over and had to get over that heartbreak and get focused on who I was and what I was doing and what I was about. That's why I want to speak to you from today. I want to speak to you today from the place in me that is a descendant of Africans that were brought here on a boat. I want to speak to you from the place in me that represents my grandmother, part African American, part Native American, Rissy Harris, who scrubbed floors and toilets to put food on my brothers and my plate. I want to speak to you from that place. And I want to share with you what I learned in those places, those difficult, dark places, those places that nobody celebrated for me or within me or as me. I want to speak to you the one thing that I've learned in those places that has been the tool that I used to rise, the ladder that I climbed up on. And that is this: be not content with littleness. Be not content. Often today we have a little bit of time. You know, we just want to do a little better. We want a little more money. I just want somebody to love me a little bit. If I could just see a little light. And we have been conditioned to look for a little. Let me do just a little better than I'm doing now. And in the process, littleness is what we bestow upon ourselves because we're afraid to dream bigger, grander, more majestic, with more magnitude because we've become so accustomed to littleness. Be not content with littleness. You are worth so much more. And so many more have invested so much in you that you cannot afford to stay little, think little, act little, speak little, pray a little. You got to think with majesty and magnitude. Be not content with littleness. Don't be content with the little expectations people will have of you. You know, people will think, oh, she got a degree, or he got a degree. Oh, they can, we could just, no. Set your sights higher. One of the things that I learned in my dark places is that I had to set my sights on places I couldn't even see. I couldn't even see where I was going. That's how in the dark I was. But had I just wanted to see just a little bit of light, just a little, chances are I would not have stretched myself beyond the places that I needed to grow. Set your sights and your expectations in places you can't even see now. You see, because you don't get in life what you ask for, you get what you expect. So expect to be magnificent. How about that? Set your sights on that. And I'm not speaking of coming from a place of ego or a place of selfishness. I'm talking about coming from a place of deep faith and trust in the majesty that you are. Be not content with littleness. You know, sometimes people want you to do just a little better so that they don't look bad. They want you to go just far enough, but not too far. They want you to grow just enough so that you can help them, but not too far where they can't reach you anymore. Be not content with littleness. And people will hold you to their limited expectations of you. You see, when I was a teenage mother in the projects in Brooklyn, people limited me. to what I could do and would do because of one mistake that I had made. And I had to grow into not thinking of my children as mistakes. That wasn't no mistake. They not the mistake. The mistake was me seeing myself as little and expecting little from people and accepting the little that they gave me and that's asking them not for all that I wanted but just a little bit more. That was the mistake, not my children. So when you see yourself as little and you expect little, and when people expect little of you, you won't see beyond anything you can't control. So when I was a teenage mother, people thought that's all I was going to be. When I was a welfare mother, people thought that's all I was going to be. When I lived in the projects, that's what people thought I was going to be. And see, I never allow myself to forget that. Because if that forget, I'm going to get caught up in my own bloated human nothingness. And it's not my humanity that pulled me out of darkness. It was my unwillingness to keep myself little. Be not content with just doing a little better. You know, sometimes just a little better is okay. Be not content with that. Be content with growing and using everything that you've learned to make somebody else's life a lot better. Not just your life a little better. But when you grow in your craft, in your skill, in your education, in whatever it is that you were doing. It's funny because I always wanted to be a nurse. That's what I wanted to be. I was going to go to school because back then nurses wore the crisp white uniforms and the white shoes. They even wore white stockings. Now we know that is not fashionable today. But at that time, I wanted to wear them white stockings and them white shoes that laced up. I just thought that was just glamorous, okay? And unfortunately, I got in a little trouble called pregnancy, so I didn't get to go. But I always wanted to be a nurse. That's what I wanted to do. And I had my life started moving, and I moved ahead, and I just kept pushing higher than I could see. I didn't know what it was. What I really wanted to do was support people in their healing. And the only thing that I knew was nursing. I couldn't go to medical school because they were going to make me cut the frog up, and I could not cut the frog up. That was not going to turn out well for me. So I took nursing. But imagine, 43 years later, I'm nursing in a new way to an entirely larger group of people that could ever fit in a hospital waiting room. Set your sights high. And be content with trying to make other people's life a lot better using your skills, talents, and abilities. Be not content with the littleness. Now this little piece is hard right here. But be not content with just doing what you know. Don't be content with that. And sometimes, in order to move beyond what you know, you're going to have to move beyond the people that raised you. Now, I'm not advocating the dissolution of the family or go away, don't forget. I don't forget who I am. But sometimes you've got to be willing to move beyond what they know, what they see for you, what they've taught you, what they've given you. You've got to be able to move beyond your little comfortable world out into the bigger world because there's something and someone out there that needs you. Sometimes we have to leave our loved ones behind, grow and come back and be somebody different in their presence. And it's not easy. It's not always easy because these are the people that lifted you, that held you, that guided you, that taught you, and they'll be okay. I've never heard anybody dying from somebody leaving home. Now, people die from a lot of things. How'd they die? Oh, the son left home. They had a chronic case of the daughter moved to another country. No. Be willing to step beyond the little world that you know. And even though it's loving and it's supportive and it's great and it's grand, there's so much more out there. I brought you greetings from the nation of Brooklyn, New York, because that's where I grew up. That's where I raised my children. And Brooklyn was my world until it wasn't, until I moved out. I was 30 years old before I ever got on an airplane to go anywhere. So I had become content with doing just what I knew. Absolutely. I was a control freak. As long as I could control it, it kept me safe. But be not content with that. Take your study to the next level. Take the name and the energy of the university and show them what this faculty has imparted in you and who you are. Represent us in other places in the world. Be not content with littleness. And one last thing that I learned about littleness. Don't make little choices. Make big choices. Your choice is your power. You can choose what you know, or you can choose to grow beyond what you know. You can choose what is comfortable for you and, well, everybody can agreement, or you can choose to break the mold and try something new. Choose. From your place of majesty. Choose. From a vision of magnificence. Choose. Big choices that will take you into unknown territories, where you will grow and learn and live beyond your wildest imagination. Be not content with little choices. Make big choices that will frighten you. I teach my students, as you're moving out in the world, as you're growing in your character and in your craft, if you don't have just a little pee running down your leg, you ain't living big enough. When you're living big, it should scare the pee out of you. Now, I know that I can't do that. I can't say that at the Harvard commencement address, but I can say that to my people. Just a little bit of pee. Because you should be scared enough to have to depend on something bigger than you. If you're in control, you ain't living big enough. If you know what's going to happen, you're not living big enough. If you don't have to drop to your knees at least once every 24 hours, you ain't living big enough. Be not content with littleness. Little opinions about yourself and people's little opinions about you. Be not content with a little vision that gives you everything that you can see, but a grand and glorious vision that's going to take you someplace that'll make you pee on yourself. Be not content with choosing what's comfortable. Choose what is going to help you, support you in making an indelible mark on the world. Every place I go, I remind people that I was a teenage mother on welfare in the projects. You wrote me off. Ta-da. They had little expectations of me and for me. Every place I go, I stand in honor of my grandmother, Rissy Harris, who scrubbed floors and cooked food for people who wouldn't let her walk in the front door of their house. And when I went to work with her on Saturdays, I went in the back door with her and stood on a milk crate and ironed pillowcases and napkins. And I couldn't touch anything because I couldn't dirty up anything. Don't touch that or you'll make it dirty. And if I had stayed married to that little vision of who I am, be not content with littleness. This is a huge step that you're making today. Celebrate it every single day. Don't let yourself become content with this being it. This is just a little beginning to a much grander conclusion. I want to bless you. I want to thank you. I want to thank my beloved brother David. Go out in the world. Be big. Think big. Do big. And make us really big and proud. God bless you.